What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy. Here with a look at the short 5-game MLB DFS slate on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo for Wednesday evening, July 27th. Favorite pitcher on this slate is Max Scherzer of the New York Mets, and that's really not too much of a stretch to argue, since Scherzer is, well, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and if you've been following along with Major League Baseball for a while, you knew that already. Scherzer returned to the Mets after missing about 6 weeks from mid-May to early July, and since then has been phenomenal. Has 8+ strikeouts in 4 consecutive outings, 11 strikeouts in 2 of those 4 outings, at least 21 DraftKings fantasy points in every single outing since returning from the injured list, so expect him to have a very good chance of having success again tonight, even though he is facing a very tough New York Yankees lineup. Max Scherzer leads our model this evening with a 19.5 OF index. He's a -182 money line favorite in betting markets and projects by far for the most strikeouts on this 5-game slate, with just under 1.4 strikeouts per inning against the Yankees lineup. His batted ball exit velocity has been pretty good, but the batted ball distance allowed over the last 2 weeks is the only cause for concern with Max Scherzer. Kevin Gausman of the Blue Jays comes in second with a 15.8 OF index, -265 on the money line. That's the biggest favorite. His Blue Jays are the biggest favorite on the slate against St. Louis. The Cardinals are visiting Toronto, and they did not bring Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado with them because they are ineligible to play. That makes Gausman a very good play against a Cardinals lineup that is down 2 very high-quality, all-star quality hitters for the duration of their series against the Blue Jays, and it gives him a good matchup tonight. I don't necessarily think we actually need to go beyond these two and 2 pitcher sites, so DraftKings or Yahoo. I think you can find ways to roster both these guys tonight, particularly considering that we're very high on some very cheap offenses to play with your stacks this evening. But if you were to play anyone else, I think you would just go with number 3 in our model, Luis Castillo against the Miami Marlins in what may be his final start for Cincinnati before being traded at the deadline. He's a -148 moneyline favorite, projects for just under a strikeout per inning pitched, and has very, very good batted ball distance allowed over the last couple of weeks, so I would expect him to continue his strong recent form here. But personally, on this 2-game slate, I think I'm just sticking to Scherzer and Gausman in any lineups that I'm trying to put together. Now, for offenses, looking at the worst-ranked pitchers tonight, it does seem like we'd be interested in Mets hitters against Domingo Germán of the Yankees, Reds hitters against Braxton Garrett of the Marlins, and Orioles hitters against Drew Rasmussen of the Rays. Our stacks dashboard agrees on Cincinnati, a little lower on the Mets, and the Rays are right in the middle of the pack as far as our model is concerned. Now, it does look like Cincinnati and Toronto are very good all-around plays, with the number 1 and number 2 Occupy Fantasy indices on this particular slate. Very high isolated slugging rankings, highest weighted on base average rankings, and highest implied team totals in betting markets. Toronto, with the highest implied team total on this slate at about 5.6 runs, is probably the best play in low-risk contests. They have a very good matchup with Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals, who's slightly worse against right-handed hitters. This is obviously a very right-handed hitter-heavy lineup for the Blue Jays. A lot of prominent sluggers every single night that we're interested in playing. And they should be able to get to Wainwright tonight, and certainly the odds makers think that that is the case. The Reds are not going to be a team that we think that the field is going to be super heavy on. But when we look at their lineup and what we're anticipating, actually what is being played tonight, their lineup is already in. We have access to a couple of minimum price players in Stuart Fairchild in the outfield and Michael Papierski at catcher. That certainly would help you build out a very high upside Red stack here. Brandon Drury, Kyle Farmer, Tommy Pham hitting 5th or higher at the top of the stack here. Definitely worth including in your Red stacks on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo this evening. Our builder on this slate does like Cincinnati the most. I got them in over 50% of 300 lineups. I got Toronto in over 40% of 300 lineups. And the other team that I got a pretty healthy amount of as a secondary stack was the Baltimore Orioles in their matchup with Tampa Bay tonight. Obviously, I think Adley Rutschman being the top-ranked catcher in our model has a lot to do with that. So Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Toronto, with their very high ranking in our stacks dashboard, are the best offenses to play tonight. Let's look at Toronto a little closer since it's a short slate, not really much else to talk about. We have George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Teoscar Hernandez as the top options against Adam Wainwright tonight. Wainwright allowing an elite isolated slugging 2 right-handed hitters. Some of the best Blue Jays against just any right-handed pitcher in baseball this year. Both catchers that we expect to play, Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen, Lourdes Gurriel, and then the aforementioned Hernandez, Springer, and Guerrero. So those are some of the guys that I would focus on with Toronto. Going back to Cincinnati, they're facing Braxton Garrett. He's actually left-handed. So Brandon Drury and Kyle Farmer, number 1, number 2 in the stack, are the best Reds hitters against left-handed pitching. Michael Pepierski, even though he's at the bottom of the stack here with just a 3.1 OF index, has a 350 weighted on base average this season against left-handed pitching. So he's a pretty sneaky play at catcher as well. Over on DraftKings, I'm going to go with Max Scherzer, my favorite pitcher tonight. 5 high upside Reds bats. I do think that I can just play Gausman, as I mentioned when I was going over the pitching, and figure out what I want to do with the final 3 spots. 38.66 per player remaining. Over on FanDuel, Scherzer, 4 Reds bats, 30.50 per player remaining. I think that's the best way to attack this really short 5-game slate here on Wednesday, July 27th. Keep an eye out for the daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com. That'll be posted by about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to talk about MLB DFS up until then, consider joining our Discord. There's a link to do so below the description of every video that we post on this channel. Good luck tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow with more MLB DFS.